the S22 Ultra looks like it will be on its way to the best phone of 2022.
Engineer reacts.
All right, that was quick. The Vivo iQOO 9 Pro series, an unbelievable series with the moniker from BMW's Motorsport. And I have to say, I am thoroughly impressed. I was able to thankfully try out the Vivo X70 Pro last year, courtesy of Juan Bagnell. And now Juan has stepped up again and provided the iQOO 9 Pro to me look at. So it seems like every time I start to get enamored with a phone, Juan comes in and sets me straight and it's like, hey, you are a reviewer. So, forget that new phone that you think you found. So what Vivo is doing is pretty impressive. You have the X70 Pro Plus, which is kind of the top dog, and it uses one of the best sensors that Samsung creates. So they use the GN1, it has an ultra gimbal. But what we find with the iQOO 9 Pro is it uses the same sensors that are in the S22 as far as the main sensor. So it uses the GN5. That sensor is stabilized by the ultra gimbal sensing sensor. And it's pretty impressive when you actually start to use it and move it around or whatever. You'll see that it actually keeps the it's almost like horizon leveling that you see on GoPros. It will keep everything in the same place, which is really cool, even though you'll see it once the video plays back that it's stabilized that footage, but you'll see it flip around. But to you, as you're moving around, you're like, wait a second, this is staying up, which is pretty incredible. Now, I have to say that just 24 hours in, I have been impressed with the speakers. Now, one thing that I will point out about the S22 Ultra, at first I thought I liked the speakers, but I'm starting to suspect that there's something going up with the top speaker. It's like it's thin. It's almost like it's in the configuration that was on the Pixel 5. So when I first noticed it, I was actually moderating for Ike's Tech Talk, and I had him up on the big screen, and I had to go do something. So I just stopped casting, and as soon as it hit my phone, I'm like, what just happened here? So I fired up all the phones that I had next to it, and lo and behold, I'm like, wait a second, it's like a high pass filter on this. All the lows, where are the lows? So it's really thin. So I've got to do more testing, but I'm not seeing that on this iQOO 9 Pro, which makes me feel a lot better. Now, please take a look at the unbelievable design. The design is just really good, and it feels good in the hand, so we know it's already probably phone of the year candidate. But I want to talk about CPU performance, because just in my early tests, I think people are starting to I'd like to test out Genshin. I know it's not a traditional Android game, but I think it's a great way to test out these processors. And I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any issues with it getting warm. Now, I will point out that with Samsung so far, I don't see it getting warm at all. It's obvious that they have really taken advantage of dialing back the Snapdragon, and it seems like iQOO is doing the same, or I should say Vivo, for the iQOO 9 Pro. Now, one thing that I will continue to mention is the photos. Now, so full disclosure, I really like what Samsung did this year, and I can definitely make an argument. If you have a 21 Ultra, I really don't know if you should upgrade to the S22 Ultra. It would be hard for me to recommend someone with a Note 20 Ultra. I just prefer the image processing on the S22 series over the S21. That's just my preference. A lot of contrast. Now, with the iQOO 9, I'm getting the same vibes. I was not really excited for any phone with a GN5, even though I knew it was a good sensor. I always question why you would not use the GN1. For Vivo, it makes sense because they have their flagship using the GN1. For Xiaomi, it might make sense because they have their flagship, the Ultra, using the GN2. So I get it. And there's rumors that Xiaomi is going to put the GN5 in their Ultra 12 with the GN1 being the main. So I get that, but having said all that, I think I am extremely impressed with the sensor. Now, one of the things that I was concerned about was depth of field. So that's one of the things I love about the GN1. I really don't use portrait mode, although I will be using it on the S22 series. I think they did a great job, and it seems like they've done the same on the Vivo, but I think my concerns may have been overblown. I still get a decent amount of bokeh, not as much as I do on the Pixel series, but when I took the first few shots using the non-50 megapixel mode, I saw that I wasn't getting much bokeh, but I will say the iPhone does the same thing. It does something similar where it racks, when when it racks focus, it's like almost like it's like pulling the whole image together. Like it's focusing on object, but it pulls the whole image together. But as soon as I went to 50 megapixel mode, I could see the depth of field. So I just like to have that flexibility where I can just use the sensor and not have to use portrait mode. That's just a personal preference. But let's go here and take a look at or listen to the speakers. I think the speakers sound pretty good. And again, I think they might both sound good on the camera. I have a really good mic, but I just caution everybody that the S22 Ultra does sound like there's like a high pass filter.
Engineer reacts.
So my first impressions are really good with this unit. I'm going to be taking these out in the field. I have a certain amount of days that I can really work with iQOO. So I will be working with this, getting this back to Juan. But for the next few days, I'm gonna have tons of fun. But I also want to say thank you and shout out to all the new subs. It's really overwhelming, the support that I've been getting lately. So again, this was the engineer. This was my reaction, and we're out.